Previously on Chat 62.
I remember hearing like, what the heck? And I took my headphones off and hearing, incoming, incoming, incoming. And I open up the door and you hear like, boom, boom, boom. Some of the rounds hit off base and then a couple went over and hit on the leatherneck side. Boom, boom. And I just remember they started telling us to get down, put your equipment on, get ready. So I just remember we did all this training, right? And everything. We did all this training. And I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, turn on the lights and I hear knocking on the door. Boom, 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 boom. And I open up the door and I'm like laid down, getting my stuff. And I hear like, Gunny, we getting attacked. Gunny, we getting attacked. It was a couple of the other Marines that, you know, part of the engineers. We getting attacked. I said, go get your shit. Get it on right now. He's like, oh shit. So I'm like on the floor. Here we are training for all this. Here we are. Oh shit. And so I looked over and I said, hey, wake up. I'm telling the guys to wake up. They're like, huh? I said, we're getting attacked right now. And it's like, oh shit.
Real quick before we start, we've streamlined our contact info. From now on, if you have any questions, feedback, or ideas for future guests, just shoot us an email at chat62podcast@gmail.com. All right, let's fucking go. How long were you in Afghanistan for?
In 2013 to 2014. So that was like 8 months.
About the same amount of time you spent in Iraq, right? How many tours did you do in Iraq?
One. Two,
okay, yeah.
And I got taken off of that.
That's right. That's right. Okay. I thought I may have missed something there.
Real world deployments that I've been at was in Haiti, 96 to 97, Guatemala. That was for humanitarian. When hurricanes went through Central America, you had everybody in like different services. Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, just broken up. I was there, and that was when hurricanes went through Puerto Rico. Right before that, that was 99. Yeah, 1999. Yeah, 1999. Because I got to, 1999. Because I got to Pendleton, 2000. Yeah, and then Iraq, Afghanistan.
So you felt that you were more better prepared for Afghanistan than you were in Iraq?
Way more better. When I was in Iraq, and this is way after that whole push and everything. Even like my buddy was just telling me, he said, which I didn't even know he was on a convoy back in Iraq when they first pushed through and stuff. He said, and he was telling me the convoy that he was on. He said that convoy is the same convoy, Marine convoy that he was on that went past Jessica Lynch and all of them. That convoy that before they got attacked, and he was telling me because they lost a Marine. I said, well, I heard about that. He said, yeah, that was my convoy. Because he was Motor T driving a tanker. Like, bro, I didn't even know that, man. He was telling me all about it. And then this guy was on YouTube talking about it and it mentioned him too. And I was like, whoa. So they definitely weren't prepared. And then when I went, we weren't prepared. And I just went with a pistol. And it was like, oh, you could check your weapon. You could check an M16 out in the armory if you have to go outside the wire. And when I went going outside the wire, that same chief officer that you don't need that. You ain't gonna go out there. You just need the pistol. He's got his M16 and you're gonna have a little security. I said, what? You serious? Afghanistan, we were definitely prepared. We had everything. Pistols, rifles, you name it. You need to get a shotgun, go get the shotgun. But we had everything. We were very, very prepared before we left. While we got there, we were doing training. You look out across the fence line and you see nomads out there. You're like, those nomads. You sure those nomads? Was that Taliban? Because Taliban used to watch the base all the time. And then you go to the FOBs. They were always bombing those, like trying to hit the FOBs with artillery or firing rockets. So it's just like, yeah, that place to me was more dangerous than Iraq, but Iraq was just, it was a different monster.
So how was the rest of your time in Afghanistan?
More of a learning experience. Again, when it comes to leadership, my guys used to have to get missions to go out to the different FOBs and stuff and do stuff out there. And you worry about them, or we used to leave and you worry about us. And never got any direct combat situations over there. Only thing I remember is like things used to happen after we left or before we left. You know, it was just like, you know, after we left or Yeah, before we got there and stuff, like, things were happening, and so we didn't see none of that stuff. And I just remember we were at a fob over there, and we had to go, to see like with the colonel. She was out there, and so we just went as her security. And the Afghan army would just come and drop bodies off over here or whatever. And so we're just talking and stuff. And I just remember like, jeez. And then the staff sergeant, one of our staff sergeants that was out there, he said, "Hey, y'all want to go to the bazaar?" And she was like, "No, because we got to leave. We got to get this bird and head back." So we got on the bird, head back. Next morning, we heard that an hour after we left at the bazaar, a IED went off and killed some Afghan soldiers. The same bazaar we were going through. I just remember she looked at me. I looked at her and said, "Damn, we glad you said no. We don't." And I wanted to go. I just wanted to go see what's over there and stuff. And later, nope, we're not going, because that particular fob. So it was just a small fence with Army and Marine assets, medical assets for the Army. It was surrounded. It was a Afghan base, small little fenced-in area. There's just enough to hold a couple of helicopters and medical helicopters and whatever stuff that they were doing there. And then there was some infantry guys there too. But so it was just Afghan, Army compound pretty much. And then they were getting rockets when they first got there. They got rockets fired at them. My guys, that was out there, that stayed out there, and they were like, "Yeah, it came through here, and they get you got it. We couldn't figure out where the other one went. They found out that it got enlarged into like a T barrier and had to take it out. And it was a mountain. I remember this mountain. There was this that was facing them, and they were and they said, yeah, it came from there. But while we were there, you could see like the helicopters, the helos, like firing, because we stayed overnight, firing artillery and stuff into those mountains. That was the second time I went. First, because I went to that spot twice. The second time I went, we stayed overnight. First time we didn't stay overnight because CO was with us. Second time we went out there, it was me, my lieutenant, and one of my staff sergeants. We went out there. Was just watching that at night. That like, damn, hate to be them up there.
So what happens after Afghanistan?
So we get back. I'm going to the field like a month and a half later. I'm like, we just got back from Afghanistan. And we wound up going to the field in Arizona, WTI. Is it WTI? Yeah, CAX over there. WTI, I think it's called. Stayed out there in that hot air and desert of Arizona, Yuma, Arizona. Got sent to the field out there. It was just like, damn, why are we out here? And then, but some of the leadership was in Afghanistan with me, so we were tight. Mm-hmm. We just had to deal with some of the people that didn't go out there with us, had their own ideas and everything. But we were tight. That happened, and then I just remember I either re-enlisted or extended. I think I re-enlisted.
So we're entering your
final enlistment, and my final enlistment, I was already saying like, yeah, after this enlistment, I'm going to retire. Because I already decided when I was in Afghanistan, I remember being like, just talking to my wife, and I said, I'm done. I'm done. The stress is getting mentally and physically. I was just done. It took a toll on me, and I was like, I'm done. I'm going to retire and put my papers in. But I still had a good amount of time to go, and so I I remember doing my last re-enlistment. Oh, let me back up. My last re-enlistment literally was right before Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
It just popped in my head because I re-enlisted, hopped in the vehicle to go to 29 Palms for training to be, before Afghanistan. And I did the re-enlistment, said, all right, my wife was there, said, all right, see you later. Hopped in the vehicle with my staff sergeant because they said we could take our car, and we drove to 29 Palms to meet everybody else up there. Because it's the only time I ever heard, like they said, staff and COs and officers, you could take your vehicles if you want. We're like, what? That was a treat. Because when we were like training in 29 Palms, we would go to the gym all the time and Five Guys in 29 Palms all the time. Right? Go to the gym first, 29 Five Guys, and then back to the camping area. Yeah, so that was the last re-enlistment. Right? That last re-enlistment took me into so what happened is when after Afghanistan, we got back into the field, came back, all that stuff. And got a call from the monitor saying, hey, we need you. I need you. And I said, oh no. I said, I'm going to retire. I'm about to drop my retirement papers. He said, yeah, I heard, man, but I need you. And I said, no, please don't send me the 29 Palms. I'm going to retire soon. And he said, no, I need you to go to 11th Marines. We got a gunny up there, got some issues, and they need a gunny right away. He left. I was like, 11 Marines? I've been trying to stay away from the infantry side, division side, my whole entire career. I've been trying to stay away from the division side. Damn. So I said, when do I have to check in? As soon as possible. I said, can I check in after Christmas, January? Okay, yeah. Boom. Did that. Checked in to 11 Marines, and I was a regimental utilities chief up there, which was, I'm the only person of the MOS. So my word was God. I could tell him, I could tell him like, the sky is green. They'd be like, the sky is green? All right. I already spoken. At the regiment level. And let me tell you this, that was one of the being in 11th Marines division on the division side was one of the best times I had ever being in the Marine Corps.
Why was that? They
treated you like your rank, with respect. There was respect from the colonel that was there when I first got there, and the new colonel that came in treated you with respect. You go to the meetings, and it was like, hey, Gunny, what's going on? This and that, blah, blah. The sergeant majors up there, they as long as you weren't a knucklehead or, causing trouble, you're good to go. And I was straight up, again, being honest with them too, and they like that. And so, and then the chief warrant officer that I had, friends with him to this day, I keep in touch with him. He was good. The master sergeant that was there, great guy. I used to sit there for hours just talking to him. He used to give me good advice. What? Gunny, you need to go see the shrink. What? He said, I go all the time. You need to go see the doctor. You need to go to mental health. After all the stuff he told me for all the deployments, and again, way back in Haiti, my good friends killing them, he said, you need to go. He said, no shame in going. Go. I go myself. A lot of other staff and shows, officers, junior Marines, they go to us. And at the time, I lived right next to the old hospital that was at Camp Pendleton. And because it's a new one.
On main side, right?
No, main, yeah, kind of main side, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's the old one. I lived right over there. That one had shut down already, but they still had mental health and all that stuff over there. And I just remember going like, damn. And I lived in the housing over there. So I was driving, and I was like, I looked over, drove in there, walked in there, kind of like nervous and everything. And I walked in and looked to the left. So what the hell? I know him and him. Couple of them, one of the master sergeants that I know, master guns that I know when I was, a sergeant at, one of the old units. He was there. Hey, what's up, man? I was like, hey. Then somebody else came in and said, hey, and it got rid of that stigmatism. Like, it's not all right to go to mental health if you need to go. And a lot of people just, you need to go. You need to go there. You need to vent. You've been through a lot. You need to go.
And before we go any further, were there any indications prior to that you needed to go, where your fellow Marine said, hey, you know what, I think you need to go?
So whenever I bring up certain stories, and I was kind of short with it, like doing this, because, certain stories when it came to you seeing your friends die, you wind up hearing like, oh, so-and-so, what? With me, it was more if I was talking in a conversation, I'd be in tears right now. It'd be in my eyes. I'd be hard, and then with me and the master sergeant, we had those conversations. And he said, and that's when he's like, you need to go. You should have went a long time ago. And going back to when I was a staff sergeant in Iraq, I ran into this guy that was a staff sergeant back when I was a lance corporal in Haiti. And he was in charge of the Marine that killed himself. He was, that guy's rack was right next to mine. But he was in charge of that guy. And at the time, that staff sergeant, I'm going, okay, this is in Guatemala. I'm thinking now. I was in Guatemala when I seen that staff sergeant. We were sitting at this table in Guatemala, and at the camp, and we were talking. And he back then he was an asshole. He was a huge asshole, man, big time. When I seen him as a sergeant, and he was a gunny at the time in Guatemala. He said, "Hey, what's up, man?" We started talking to him, and I was like, "Yo," and he brought it up. He said, "Bro, what that thing with Lance Corporal Winston that tore me up, man." And he was at the time he was down to earth. Now he's like, "That tore me up for a long time." And he said, "I had to go see the shrink." I said, "What?" And I'm thinking in my head, and I said, "Should I go? Should I have gone and seen him?" I didn't tell him that. I said, "I wonder if I should have went and gone and seen him." Seen, because every time that story that would come up, I would just break out in tears. I didn't hear the name. I see something happen on TV to any Marine, any service member, anybody like that. I just break down and cry. Like in tears, not like, oh, but in tears. I just start shedding tears. Years later, I'm a gunny, and here's the master sergeant saying, "Yeah, man, you should have went a long time ago." And there's no shaming, because the stigma, I'm not going, Marines, especially Marines, I'm not going there. Hell no, tough or anything. You need to just go. And that's why I started telling all my Marines that, like, no, just go. You just go. There's no shame in it. You need to shed a tear or two. Shed that tear or two. You need to get it out because it's just gonna build up. And people, it'll come out in people in different ways. Some people might be violent. Some people might just be tears. Some people might just, and who knows what it is.
Everyone reacts differently.
Everybody's different. Mine was just tears. Like I can, to this day, and throughout the years, seeing different things. I could watch a movie. If I see something sad, I'm like, I have to look. I look over my kids, see if they're looking at me. I'm like, they're not looking. I'll be, Return of the Jedi or something, or whatever. Or was it Avengers? That last one with Tony Stark's dying. I was in tears.
Oh my God, yeah.
Littlest things, man, would just do that to me now. And it all stemmed from over those years, and that was the beginning when Lance Corporal Winston killed himself. That my buddy and everything. And
I could redact his name if you want me to.
I think it's all right. It's been out there for forever, forever. And I like on my stuff on my channels and stuff like that. I've talked about it too. I think it's all right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, one of the guys just contacted. I talked to this guy in years. He hit me up a couple of days ago. This is some dark humor now.
My kind of humor.
He contacted me a couple of days ago. He said, "Yo, this is so and so." I was like, "Get the hell out of here!" And he said, "You don't believe me?" And there's a story going back to when I was in Iraq, Haiti. We went on this hike as a Lance Corporal, and I had gotten this blister. That blister went that much across my foot, and then underneath that blister was another blister, and it was full of blood. And it's because we were on a hump around Haiti, and it was gravel. And those old leather boots weren't like it had a lot of friction and stuff, and it just wore you down. So, yeah, dark humor. The skin peeled off, and it was bad. It was huge, and everybody's like, "Holy shit, that's huge!" And then the one Marine that got a hold of me like a couple of days ago, he said, "Bro, I'm keeping this shit." I said, "You ain't gonna keep that bullshit." And we were like, "That's nasty, man. That's nasty." Sure enough, he goes, "Oh, you don't believe me?" He pulls out, he sends me a picture, and he still has the freaking skin.
He's preserved it.
And he put Lance Corporal so-and-so. And then I was like, "Get the hell out of here, man." He said, "I told you I was going to keep it." He said he wound up keeping it and all his shit, and he forgot all about it. And then he was digging through his stuff, and he seen it, and then boom, that's when he seen the way he contacted me. He seen some of my stuff on social media and stuff, and he was like, "No way, that's him." That's when he messaged me on Instagram, and then he showed me that. And my wife, my son is thinking like, "Oh my God, it is sick, but damn, that's your military, right?" But I was just so surprised he had that, and they had my rank and name on it and stuff. And if you put 96 to 97 on it.
That's a fucking memento, dude.
Yeah, I kept a picture of it, but because I couldn't believe it, I said, and I told that story about that blister for years, and nobody ever believed it. And here it is, right there.
Fucking
I
A.
remember. Somebody dared him, take a bite of it.
Oh,
And he went, like that. I was like, oh, fucking nasty. Oh,
fucking Marines being Marines, man.
Marines, man. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but yeah. It's, 2 days ago, he contacted me. I was like, wow. I always wonder what happened to him. One of the other guys, me and him are still friends, but I just always wonder what happened to that guy. Man, here he is.
That's so cool. He reached out to you.
You see my stuff on laughing at some of my stuff. I was like, bro, that's crazy. But yeah, I don't know how I got there, but yeah.
Oh, well, mental health.
Yeah, mental health. Go. Anybody out there, go. If you think you need it, go. There's no shame in it. I don't care how tough you are. You be the toughest person in the world. Go.
Amen.
Just go. Nobody's going to look down upon you. A lot of people do go, and it'll save lives. It'll save your life.
At the end of every podcast, we attach a 988 message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to get it out there. There's no shame in seeking help. Yeah. You sought the help that you needed. If you want, we can fast forward to the, towards the end of your final enlistment. What's going through your head?
Final enlistment is, oh crap, I need to find a job. I have a family now, a family of 3. I have and a dog, including me, that's 6 with that dog. I got to hustle. Here I am. It's like, this is all I know is the military. I got to find something to do. And then I went to a transitioning class, and they had a really good one for the staff and SEALs and officers. The junior Marines, they did them wrong, man. I used to say, man, they did them wrong, man. Because right when I was getting ready to get out in 2016, I did this class in 2015, between 2015 to 2016. Great class for the staff and SEALs and officers. I went through the same, I sat in the one that they were doing for the E5s and below, and I was like, wow, they're not getting half the information we're getting. And in mine, I had like colonels, majors, generals, literally sitting in that same class with me. And they were going through the same nervousness, because that's all they know. I used to call it like, man, this must be what it feels like to get out of prison, because this is all you know. It's the fear of like, I got to go find a job and everything, this and that, and so on. But they walked us literally through the VA stuff, told us what you needed to do. Now, if you didn't do it, that's all up to you. I started my VA stuff like, they had this program, like you start your final enlistment. Your final physical. You could do it a whole year, I think it was a year and something months before, 13 months or 14 months before, where other Marines, when they were doing it, like, nah, man, you got to wait 6 months or 4 months. No. In black and white, it says you could do it like 13 or 14 months. I forgot what it was. So I did it before my last year and stuff. I was already starting it. And yeah, you'll find a physical, but you could still go do PT. I did a CFT. They made me do my final PFT, CFT, gas chamber. You could do all that stuff. Only thing they do is just add it to your final physical. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it unless things change. If it's in black and white, you could do it. And I did it. And I had my warrant officer and my chief warrant officer and the master. I was like, yeah, take care of your stuff. You getting out, man. So they let me just go ahead and do that. I took advantage of everything that was in place. In order to go look for a job, I had that. So for about 2.5 months, that's all I did. I just had to check in on MOL saying, hey, I'm alive. Or sometime I'll stop in at the platoon and chief officer will be like, Johnny, what you doing here? I'm bored. You need to come visit. But I was hustling, man. First of all, I stopped. I got some sleep, finally got sleep, and it screwed me up because I was so used to going to bed late and waking up early. I finally got sleep that I felt like, wow, I feel like shit right now. And then I was trying to help my wife with the kids, taking them to school, do all this. And that's hard. I was like, man, this is hard. Like with all the 3 kids, getting them here, doing this, that was hard. I was like, oh crap, send me back to work.
No, send me back to the field. I'll fucking go take care of that.
No lie, man. And then, but I was traveling from Pendleton all the way up to like the LA area, trying to find a job. hustling, like getting, sending my resumes out, making phone calls, hopping on the emails. Okay, I line like 3 interviews up just to drive up to LA. I would drive up to LA 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week from Camp Pendleton. Do an interview, drive back into traffic, and be like, oh my God. Do the same thing the next week, man. It was scary. It was like, oh man. And then you do all your disability stuff, which I did early because it was a program. They had the VA right on Camp Pendleton. What is it? The disability? I forgot what is it. The people that actually help you with your paperwork and stuff like that.
That's on DAV, is it?
Yeah, the DAV. The DAV, and it was some they have a couple other groups and stuff. But they were like literally, hey, that's the VA right there. VA rep. What? That's the VA rep? Right across the hall. Take your paperwork. Here, boom. And I remember the VA rep looked through my stuff, and I looked at his desk, and he had some recruiting pictures on his desk. I said, "You're a recruiter in Orange County?" He said, "Yeah, I was a recruiter in Orange County. I retired out of there." He was retired as a master guns. I said, "Damn, I was on recruiting duty too in Orange County." He said, "What? What years? This year's? So and so? Yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy. Man, all right. Hey, check this out. This is what you need to do. Blah 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 blah. So your stuff is done. When it comes to your final, your last day on enlistment, your package is gonna go from here to here, and then it's gonna go up, and then you should get your answer sometime after that." So, all right, shoots. And sure enough, that was a whole year and everything. I did all my appointments, that they wanted me to go to. I did all that stuff. Oh, it was, yeah, during that time I had my appointments and everything. So when I gave him the package, he set up all my appointments to the civilian doctors off base. And he said, make sure you go to those doctors. Don't miss an appointment. So I did everything he told me to do. I did everything I was told to do in that class, did everything he told me to do. And it all hustling again. Went up. For example, I went up, drove all the way up to the LA area. Went to one place, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to work here," because they had an electrical fire while I was there. I was literally like right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh hell no!" And I walked out. And then the next day, I went up to this other place and had an appointment. It was an appointment with 8 different people, an interview with 8 different people, and to include the guy that ran the plant. Because I was going up there to I was going to be a technician, but they said, "Hey, why don't you come up here and apply for the supervisor job, maintenance supervisor job?" And I was like, "What the hell? I don't know." Because you did all this stuff in the Marine Corps, you charge millions of dollars, but on the civilian side, it's totally different. You don't know how things translate and stuff. I went through that interview, went through the first interview, and then the plant manager and then this other guy did an interview with them, and then the other people sat in this room, and I went through an interview with each and every one of them. And I was like, man, I felt I blew this out my ass. And I told her, I said, "I apologize. I'm just nervous. I'm truly nervous." And we saw, I was up there for a good 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And when I left there and I was driving back to Camp Pendleton, I was like, I blew that out my ass. And then the next day, I got a call and they gave me a job offer. And when I looked at what they gave me and the amount of money, I was like, because you're shocked. I didn't see this in the military. Like, oh crap, And so here I am. Okay, I got a job. We wound up staying with my mother-in-law for like maybe about 3 or 4 months before we got actually 3 months before we got our own spot. But it was scary, man. It was scary. It was really, really, really scary. And at the very first time I got to quit a job, I was like, I could actually quit and get another job. I could do that. Wow.
I'm not going to get a page 11.
Like, yeah.
I'm not going to get a page 12.
Holy crap. And it was just scary. It was just really scary. But once I did that, and then, you get a little bit more freedom, I could tell this person off too. Tell them what I really think. Hey.
What was your last day on base like?
Last day on base was because we had to leave. Like I was on terminal leave, was still living on base too, but we left and everything. So when we left, it's just like, wow, okay, this really happened. That was my last day. Kind of sad because Camp Pendleton. I love San Diego. Camp Pendleton and falling down to San Diego. I love that area. So it's just like, wow. Okay, a lot of memories here. Now I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I do have a job lined up. I have a temporary place to stay. So I'm good. Now we just got to figure it out, man. And so when we left there, it was just like, oh, okay, we left home and everything. We've been back every few times. It's like, it's just like, damn, we left home and everything. So like now when I think of the Marine Corps, it's like I think of all the funny stuff that I did. It's just like it's a whole nother lifetime ago. It doesn't even feel real. And it's almost like when you were a little kid. You think about when you were a little kid, now you're an adult, and you're like, damn, when I was a little kid, I used to do this. And that's how it feels. It is what it is. You got to move on.
Yeah.
And it's like, and once I left, you think like, oh, they're going to miss me. No, they ain't going to miss you. They already got your replacement.
Life carries on.
Yeah, your replacement's already here, man. Yeah, you go about. See you later. See you on Facebook.
We're going to pause it right there. Marine 1169's arc concludes in the next episode. Stay tuned to Chat 62, Semper Fi.
Struggling? You're not weak. You're human. Dial 988, then press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line. Train support that understands veterans. Stay the course. Thank you, Ozzy.